All right, we got CEO Life Sciences Consortium, right? Now, they have initiated Project DataSphere, an open access platform for pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, research institutes, independent researchers. They're supposed to share and then integrate comparator arms of late-stage oncology trials. Similar projects out there are Janssen's collaboration, right, with Yale on the YODA project. And NIH's, by the way, YODA project does bring to mind the 14-year-old kid in his and NIH's BD2K, Big Data to Knowledge project. So let's go back to that. In your opinion, will these projects improve the efficacy and quality of data generation?
I do believe that. You know, medicine, and particularly oncology, has been kind of late to the big data party. Other businesses have been using, and other industries have been using big data to collate and to grasp the targeting of certain populations. I think that this will go a long way in making that a more facile and simpler methodology for people to get the data that they need.
Are you guys excited about all this, or is this going to be yet another big splash and then silence? What do you think?
Well, at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. You know, if we can take those comparator arms, put them together, and get something that's usable and relevant, then of course. So,
all I know is if I go online, I do a Google search for a toy, for the next 20 years, people are barraging me with ads for various toys. So you're interconnected in all sorts of ways. So.
But I think one of the biggest challenges right now is how do we fund this? Because even if ASCO's OncoLink is successful, ASCO is going to be asking for payment for that. Who owns the data and how much is it worth? And if you were to come to my company and ask me for money for that data, is that public data or is that private data? Is this for public good? And I think that's a big issue that has to be resolved. Even if technically we could do it, who owns the data?
This gets back to the failure of the Rios. Who owns it? Who pays for it? Who does the maintenance?
And how does this influence drug development? When it comes right down to it, who's going to look at this and say, we need this, we need this, we need this? Who's charged with that?
Well, that really speaks to the points that John made. Until we break down those interface barriers, we're not going to be very successful. And I do think this will work. I do think ultimately it will work because smart people will figure out how to surmount privacy barriers. The reason why you get emails for 20 years about toy purchases is because there's no formal societal or governmental barriers to that information being exchanged. But health information does have those barriers. Right. So people will learn to surmount those barriers, and then in drug development, you'll have the impact in two different ways.
But there's a segment that we have not touched on in terms of what's going to drive this transformation, and in my opinion is it's going to be consumerism. So patients are going to demand. They're going to demand that they know this stuff. They're going to demand that they figure out which doctor to go to, what the expected outcome should be. Drug development, the ultimate consumer is going to determine where the needs are. That's why you get ads for toys, and I don't. My kids are in college, right?
Would you like to buy a scooter? I know we're
But Mike, I don't know if I agree with you. I don't think manufacturers and drug developers are going to be looking to the consumer to decide where they put their investment dollars. You know, we don't need a 6th or 7th TKI to treat renal cell carcinoma, and yet we have 6 already. I don't know that manufacturers are going to be looking at these types of databases and saying, wow, there's a big unmet need in this space. They already know that they want to go where the bet is safest. Let's develop another one rather than a new category
but if you
of drugs.
think about Google for a second, right? So think about Google. What's going to happen is, let's say you have renal cell carcinoma, you're trying to decide what to do, and there's going to be information that'll be out there. It'll be transparent. This is what it costs me in terms of human misery, out of pocket, toxicity, all that other stuff. Patients will say, clear as a nose on your face. That's the wrong treatment for me, based on what's on Google, right? And we're going to have that kind of thing in healthcare. I'm quite sure of it.
I think that gets distilled down from a consumer level as, if there is a difference, I'm entitled to know about those differences. And if there's not a difference, I don't know that I want to pay for it.
I get questions all the time. When patients come to see me, or families, because I'm an intensivist mostly, they've already done the research. They've got sheets of data, and I say sheets in paper, but it's sheets of silicon. And they have spent hours in front of the computer, Googling, the various options. They know it. And I often get questions of, look, this data is here, this data is here. How come it isn't integrated? And this is the question I guess we're all asking now. Now, we've got